All right, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? This is John Martinez, Midwest Revenue Group. This is our 12th, I believe, in final class together. I feel like I've gotten to know everyone. Worked with a lot of you guys one-on-one, but I hope to put a cherry on the top of this thing today and kind of finish it out with a bang. So real quick, can you guys go ahead and, the usual stuff, raise your hand if you can hear me, just so I can make sure my audio is here working. Beautiful. So here's what we're going to do today. Awesome. Thanks, Jake, for the note. Here's what we're going to do today, guys. Let me get right into our agenda. So two things I want to cover today. The first one's going to be a sales review sheet. So we've talked about it. We've hinted at it. I think I gave it to you early on in this process, but in our resources section of the training, there's a sales review sheet, so I want to show that to you, how you can actually use it. You can use it as a checklist when going through your sales process, just to kind of keep you focused on what you completed and what you didn't complete. And what you'll notice is over time when you fill out these sales review sheets, it's not an extensive sheet, it's more like a checklist. But when you fill it out, you'll start to notice that the more information you collect on sales calls, the better results you have. And when you have very few of these boxes checked in the review sheet, you're going to have less control, not as good margins. You're going to have more sales that fall out the pipeline somewhere. So what the sales review sheet is just basically a checklist that goes over everything we've covered in our training, and at least the major chunks of it, and just to kind of keep you on task. And what you'll notice is when you'll lose deals, you'll look at that sales review sheet and you'll say, you know what? I see where we should have talked about that, or we should have covered that, and I just skipped it. And you start to put all those pieces and those dots together. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to show you another example of our sales process in use, Sherry's call. So Sherry is a woman I worked with in the Colorado area. She new to sales, new to all of this really, and she recorded a sales call for me probably about 3 weeks into training. I worked with her a little bit one-on-one, so we ran through this stuff a lot quicker, but I think she picked it up well, and there's a lot of stuff we can take away from her call. More than what she says, though, as we listen to this call, we're gonna listen to our prospects, because it's a real cool call, and I'll tell you why. There's two prospects, a mother and a daughter. So it's really awesome because you can hear the mother and daughter talk to each other. It's just a whole stream of consciousness type of dialogue. So you'll hear the salesperson, Sherry, say something, and then you'll hear the mother and daughter talk it out, actually just word for word what's actually going through their minds. So it's like a sneak peek into our sellers' minds as you hear these two women kind of talk through the decision each time Sherry presents them with something new. So it's just a really cool call to listen to from that perspective. And she obviously uses a lot of what we teach. So I think it's going to be really cool to go over both of these items today, the review sheet and the sales call together. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And guys, if you have any questions as we go through this, as always, let me know. Hey, unmute me. We'll chat for a minute. Or if you have a question, a comment, something you want to add, by all means, even if it's off topic and you just say, hey, I just hope we can cover this today because we haven't yet, or I still have questions, that's okay. Let me know. I was on the phone an hour this morning with the team going over their calls and role playing with them. So they had questions after the training that they were still struggling with, so we spent that hour doing that. So I want to do the same during this call. If there's anything left over we need to chat about, let me know, okay? So let's jump into it. Now, if you look at the handout section of this webinar, you can find this outside sales review sheet. It's in a Word doc format, so you can modify it if you need to, but it's in the handout section of this webinar. So if you haven't downloaded it already or don't know where to find it, you can download it while we talk through this today. So as far as an outside sales review sheet goes, why in the world would anyone even use a review sheet? Let's talk about that first. So here are the reasons. Pre-call planning, so you can identify and prepare for potential challenges. So part of the outside review sheet is going to be preparation. Helps you kind of work through some of the obstacles that you might figure out are coming your way before they come your way, so you're better prepared. It'll help you stay on course during a sales call, right? Our prospects take the conversations a million different ways. It's easy to get jumbled. We're putting out fires as they pop out. So it's a good guide to help keep you on track. It ensures that you address really the major deal makers and the major deal breakers. You want to hit at least the big chunks, the big rocks. And post-call debrief. This is really where you identify a lot of trends and patterns. Like I said, if you're a sales manager, a business owner, or the salesperson running these calls, it's going to be super easy to look at these sales sheets, ask yourself these questions, and find out how deep you really went, what you missed, what you need to work on. It's like truth serum. Once you ask yourself or you ask your sales team about this sales review sheet and you start to go over your own answers, you realize, you know what? I thought I went over this step, or I thought I asked these questions, but now I'm thinking about it, I have no idea. And reality kicks in. And this is how we continue to improve after this training's over. So identify trends, patterns, great for spot checking. So real quick, again, all you're going to see here is here's our selling system. We basically start with the preparation, diagnosis. The diagnosis is why someone would do a deal with you. That's where we get into the emotional part of the sale. Then we've got the investment decision process. This is where we uncover the deal killers, right? And then we've got the commitment, the presentation, and the confirmation. We went through all these steps, but basically when we look at the sales review sheet, it's just a checklist of this stuff. It's going to mirror our sales process. So if you look at the top portion of it, just have some general information. And then our preparation step. What are some recent events that presented problems for or challenges for this prospect? What do you think is the biggest problem you might be able to help this prospect solve from what you know so far? How far along is this prospect likely to be in their buying or selling process? Who are you likely competing against? What question is your prospect likely to ask you? Do you know their asking price? Do you know equity? Is the person you're calling on the decision maker? If not, how might you develop this person into an influencer? So these are your preparation questions. So guys, can you see how this kind of just takes about 30 seconds to fill out, but it could get you really prepped for your sales call? And if you're in a management position or an ownership position, this is how you can make sure your salespeople have what they need, or they're prepared, they're set up for success on each sales call. Cool. So we went over general, we went over preparation. Let's move to the next part of the sheet. You're going to see advance agreement, right? So did you establish it at the beginning of your sales call? Did you explain what's going to happen? Did you review what would happen at the end of the meeting? Did you do all the stuff up front? Okay. Next one, we go into diagnosis. What are the top 3 pain points? And then beyond that, are we talking technical pain? I'm going to force you to think about it. It's just surface pain or real emotional pain. And these are the things that you're going to explore while you're in there. Okay? So as you're in there, this is what you're marking on. You can have this in front of you on a clip. I usually bring one in a clipboard or something similar to this, and I just check along as I go. So let's move on. Next, we've got the investment. Okay? Time, risk, relationship. What range are they willing to take? So these are some things you want to ask, because once you debrief deals, when you start finding out why you've lost deals, you're going to find out it's going to be one of these blocks, right? Either you were moving too fast or too slow, the timing wasn't right, there was too much risk, they just weren't comfortable, right? With some portion of the deal, where are they going to go? How are they going to get there? Do they have good enough credit to get a new place? Do they have the money to get a new place? Relationships. Are any relationships going to be impacted if they decide to do business with you? Do they have their sister, the realtor? Do they have a really good relationship with another investor that they came out for an appointment, they really hit it off with them? What range are they willing to take? This is the investment portion. These things can all kill a deal, so it's important we proactively seek out anything that could kill a deal so we can deal with them. Decision, who are we meeting with? What's their name, their role? Are there others involved? Are they looking at other options? Are they looking at other vendors who do what you do? What's the decision process there? How are they going to decide? So, and you know, Are there others involved? There's almost always others involved. So we don't stop with just who can make the decision, but who can influence the decision. So we find out why they'll do business with you. We want to make sure we get that to an emotional level, right? And then what's all the things that can pop out and kill the deal. So this is how you can also tell. I know we got some business owners, sales managers on the phone. When your salesperson comes back and you ask them about the deal, it's really hard, right? And if you're the salesperson and your manager asks you about the deal, it's really hard. You go, I think it went okay. You know, we talked about these things. But at the end of the day, neither of you really have any idea of what might have went right or what might have went wrong. So this helps you both know exactly what to talk about in those post-sales call debriefs. And you go, you know what, I had a lot of trouble uncovering X, Y, and Z. So I need to find out how I could uncover that better, how we can dig into that deeper. I don't feel like I'm equipped with the tools so we can help our salespeople get better. Salespeople can help themselves get better. And from a management perspective, we actually know what happened in those meetings, and we can see on paper where we fell short. You know, and we can ask one or two questions. So you might see an answer, right? And you look at that answer and you go, how do you know that, right? What did you actually ask? And you uncover assumptions. Well, I guess I didn't ask, but I just felt that since they said this would be their asking price, or this would be, and you guys start to get real with each other. So it's good for sales management, but it's even better for the salesperson, because this will allow the salesperson to start to learn what's actually impacting the outcome of those sales calls and take control of their sales calls. This is how we can actually help them improve. It's hard when we don't have eyes and ears on the salesperson in a sales call, right? And it's good for the salesperson again too, because it's hard to be really self-aware and know what you hit well and what you missed while you're there. But when you look at the sheet you filled out when you get back, again, you can really see what you're doing. So yeah, we just had a comment. You can record the appointment so you can review together. I'm doing deals virtually, and this is how I monitor, keep the sales guys accountable. Absolutely awesome. So we record too, and I recommend it. This is also a way to spot check that, right? So you can even use them in conjunction with each other, but great point there. Let's push a little bit deeper. Commitment, okay, the commitment step. Did you verify pain, investment, decision process, make sure you didn't miss anything? Do you know exactly what they need to see to be able to make a decision, yes or no? Is the prospect committed to making a yes or no decision after you guys present your offer, right? This tells us now it's time to move into the next phase of this thing, the presentation, okay? When it comes to presentation, present your solution to the pain, seek approval and consensus, ask what you'd like me to do, okay? That's the close. Finally, you want to hit the confirmation. Did you make sure you eliminated the buyer's remorse while your prospect's in front of you? Did you make sure that you shared expectations so the deal didn't blow up if something went wrong or you hit a snag of some sort? Do you have a plan for when things might go wrong? And is all the appropriate documentation complete, right? So after we got this deal, how do we make sure we don't lose it and smooth sailing here? Even if we don't lose the deal, we've all run into issues that make the completion of that deal pretty rocky. So guys, that's the sales review sheet. Okay, so if you've got a form, you can look at it and fill it out while we listen to this call. It's not going to be a complete call because we don't have the time for it, but you might want to match up what the salesperson is saying with some of those spaces on the sales review sheet just to practice it a little bit. And as we listen to this call, you might start to see our whole sales process from a slightly different perspective. So I'll set up this call for you. Let's move to the next slide. We're going to hit on a couple of points during this call. Okay. Let me break it down for you real quick. So this specific company does a lot of their pain finding, a lot of their diagnosis over the phone. Especially on this one, because they were out-of-towners. They lived a few hours, I think 2 hours away from the actual home. So they did a lot of the sales process over the phone and then all met at the house to finish going through everything. So you won't hear that phone call, but you'll hear a lot of that phone call being brought up and referred to during this call. So we're going to go through it, and basically here's what's going to happen. She's going to go through bits and pieces of the sales process, some of the decision-making process. We're going to try to disqualify any other options. We're going to try to do some picture-perfect painting, right? We're going to summarize what they say, validate it. We're going to try to close. The prospect's going to hesitate. The prospect's going to give some objections. The prospect's going to say we need to think it over. Our salesperson's going to stick to her guns, and we're going to see how that decision plays out and what all happens. So it's going to be a pretty cool call. So if you guys are ready, we will go ahead and we're going to jump into this. Are you guys ready to go? All right. So let me get this call booted up. Let's see where we want to start up at. So the first 24 minutes I'm going to skip. So they're just walking the house. She's building a lot of rapport. She's revisiting some of those pain points. But that's what they're doing through the whole thing, the 20-minute walkthrough, which you guys are probably intimately familiar with at this point. So where I want to start the sales call is in the actual negotiation. So what they're going to do is sit down at the table. She's going to give another advance agreement, and this is where the rubber meets the road, and they're going to get after it. So 24 minutes and 30 seconds, sitting down at the table. Let's kick this thing off. Let me know as this kicks off how the audio is, guys, so I can adjust it if I need to.
Right here, is this all right? Are you good? Do you want to, where are you sitting? You okay there? Okay. All right, well, let's talk. Well, Mary, first of all, as an investor, what I do is, we buy low, and so we can put money into it, and that's where we make our profit. You never give us any money. We don't take commissions or anything like that. So after we talk a little bit, if I feel like it's going to work for me, I can give you a yes today. Okay, then I can buy your house. If I don't think that it's going to work for us, then I'll have to give you a definite no. But I can do that today. So there's no maybe for you. Are you okay with that too? You can tell me yes or no today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'll be upfront with you and
good. That's what we want. Straight across. Okay. So, what was it that you were actually hoping I could do for you today?
All right, so guys, what was that? So that was her ultimate advance agreement, right? So she sits down at the table and she wants to, again, make sure, hey, I'm going to give you a yes or no. Can you do the same thing? So, yeah, we could have improved it a little bit, but she's going through it. And it's important that she did that because she's going to have to refer back to it here at the end of the call when she gets a maybe or think it over. So she's getting warmed up. And now she's jumping back into the diagnosis. She's already done it, but she wants to bring that pain back to the surface. So she's starting with one of those really vague questions. Hey, so what is it that you're hoping I could do for you today?
With your situation here?
Just take it over, or, just buy it from us, so I can actually be rid of it.
Yeah. Now you have a mortgage on it, correct? And how much is? And you were saying
the balance was $31,000.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I just made a payment on it, and I can't remember the exact, but it was in that area.
Okay.
31 something.
Okay. All right. Okay. So have you? I'm not your only option. So have you done other things to try to sell it or anything?
Okay. Yeah, you're the first one, and we had.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my husband. Sorry. Let me turn this thing down. Sorry.
So just to let you know what she's doing is her most common objections are, I might just list it, or, I might just keep it and rent it if the people don't like her offer. So before she even gets to her offer, those are the deal killers, right? What are your other options? So she's proactively going to draw those out and try to get the prospect to disqualify those other options, leaving her the last man standing. Right, so that's what she's attempting to do here. She's going through some of her deal killers.
Sorry about that. I thought I had it turned up. It's not even going down here. Hello, turn down. There it went. So what you're thinking on listing it?
Well, so we have some people that might be interested, but they live in Denver.
Yeah.
And then I had called you because I have a brother that lives here, and he had gotten something in the mail from your company.
Right.
And he said, well, give him a call, because at the time I really wasn't ready I said I got to decide what. I
Right.
know I wanted to get rid of the place,
Right.
and so we were in line to hire somebody to, pick up all this stuff and,
Right.
clean it up and maybe make it a little more presentable. And but I said, well, I'll call him.
Yeah.
It won't hurt to call him. I said, I don't know for sure if, what'll happen, but we can try.
Right.
And then there's some people, my financial planner, he said he knew some people that were interested in properties down here in Pueblo. And he says, when you're ready, let me know,
Yeah.
So that's the one I'm meeting tomorrow. I'm meeting with him tomorrow
Okay.
evening,
Mhm.
and then I'll let him know what is going on
Right.
with this place.
Right.
And he's trying to take care of me. And
That's good. That's good that you got the support, though.
Mhm.
That's
Guys, have we uncovered some deal killers? So right now you're probably going, ouch, right? So, okay, there's other offers that are going to come in. They want to talk to the CPA tomorrow. He's got people he wants to bring to the table, right? A little scary right here, but we got to draw this stuff out as quickly as we can so we can proactively deal with it. And remember, we're going to have to get her paying to a certain extent. So she says, you know what, I disqualify all that stuff. I just want this taken care of now. I don't want to deal with it any longer. So we know we've got a long road ahead of us on this sales call, but it's definitely not lost. We just know what we're dealing with, so we got to deal with it.
a good thing.
yeah. So and then we had the nephew that was living here. His son was interested in buying the place, and we were hoping that he'd be here today, and because we really wanted him to look at what his dad did,
Yeah.
basically, and so, but we haven't heard from him, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But we've got a few things going,
Right.
But
Well, I know
anyway,
you
go
were-
ahead and
Well, you were talking when we were on the phone,
Mhm.
and you were saying that you were really kind of in that place where you're all the way in Denver. You've got this place,
Mhm.
and it's costing you,
Mhm.
and it's hard on you.
So I want you guys to realize what's happening there. She just uncovered those potential deal killers, and she's going, oh no, time to stir back up that pain, because at the end of the day, I'm going to have to take that pain and all these objections she has. I've got people who are going to look at it. My CPA wants to give me some advice. She's going to have to get that pain to a certain threshold where she just says, I know you got all that stuff you can do, but based on what you told me, pain, 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 would you rather do that or just get rid of the problem now? So she's already jumping right into it. It's beautiful to listen to if you know what she's actually doing here. What just all that just happened right there in that little bit of time. So she's going after it. She's digging back up the pain that was brought up on the phone, because she goes, I've got to get them to an emotional level here in about 30 minutes if I'm going to close them.
Financially, is that still the case?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Like I say, after my husband died, he was the big breadwinner, and so he left some of it, but it's not that much,
right,
as what they call survivor benefits.
right.
And so, with taking care of my house, I think that's all I can afford,
Right.
just to take care of my house. And I just can't afford to take care of this one,
Right. Financially to.
making a payment on
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And notice how Sherry is just, she asks a question every now and then, but then it's just constant softening statements. Yeah, right, I know, I get. Just really building a lot of rapport through very simplistic softening statements. But it's effective if you listen to it.
And then the thing is, I don't want it really, I just
Yeah.
don't want
As a rental or anything like that.
For sure. Not
Sure, not a rental. You've been there, done
I've
that.
been,
You say that's not an option. Not an
yeah,
option.
my daughter already told me, she said, there's no ifs or buts, it's get rid of it altogether,
Yeah. Okay.
one way or the other, so.
Well, are you familiar with I mean, the market and everything in this area, have you been following that at all or anything?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have some other options out there with relatives and stuff like that. Are they, I mean, do they have priority over if I were to buy it? Is there something?
No, they just said that they would like to buy it, but that's just a lot of talk.
Okay.
And he's the only one that offered that
Okay.
he thought he might want to buy it because his grandma lived here.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay, so if you sell it, if I can buy it or whatever, what is your next step? What are you going to do? Are you going to stay in Denver and your doctor?
So she's going to keep stroking that pain and then keep going to Picture Perfect. Just like on the call you heard me do, right? Get them into an emotional state pain-wise and then start talking about the alternative. Well, what would you do if you sell this place? What's that going to feel like? We got to get our prospects crystal clear on those two things. What's it feel like now? How painful is that? And what's the alternative? What's that feel like before we can truly build up enough motivation to purchase this place at the price we need to purchase it at?
Or is she there and you're okay settled there?
Oh yeah.
And financially you'll be okay
I
there.
have my house, and my house is paid for. I just need to get out from under it because the money that goes out for this place, I could use somewhere else.
Yeah. How's that
I
making?
I need to do some work on my house.
Oh, okay.
See, we had like you said, a bucket list, but we had a to-do list. And so my husband and I had made this list of all the things that we needed to do in our house. Well, it has been put on the back burner, and I haven't done it. And I said, I need to get those things done, because if I decide to sell it, I need to get as much as I can. But the way it is right now, I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Because they want. Well, one of the things was, I had my porch poured in, had a new porch poured in, and I took all the old stairs, put everything in really nice. So we did do that. That was
that's good.
So we did that last fall. Then I needed gutters. My house needs gutters really bad. So that was on the list. And then I have a timeshare that I need to get rid of. And
So just walking her through it. So she's been through the diagnosis step already on the phone, but she's simply getting the prospect to verbalize everything again. Where are you and where do you want to be? Because in order for this deal to happen, in order for a negotiation to take place, we're going to have to get them to that emotional spot again.
So I have somebody working with me on that.
Good.
But I had to put that on the back because of this. And I said, the timeshare, I know it's taking a little extra money, but I'm good for a year.
Okay.
Because he told me it takes maybe 3 to 6 months to really get rid of it.
Right.
So anyway, that was things.
Well, if I'm hearing you right, this is kind of a burden for you at this point right now, and financially as well as mentally. Is that correct? Am I hearing you right?
Yeah.
And to just be rid of it would help you to continue on with your house, get that fixed, and be able to have some little extra money. All right. Well, before I forgot, I brought this thing so you can find out a little bit about us. I have a letter here that kind of just tells how we can buy cash. We pay cash so we can close quickly. We don't have to go through all the steps.
So right now she's just doing she's just building some trust. She's got a little pamphlet that she shows the Better Business Bureau rating, some of the work they've done. There's some social proof in there, some references, stuff like that. So she won't spend any more than a minute on it.
The financial institutions as far as having surveys and having bringing everything up to code. So that's a plus. We also, because we're paying cash, our closing times, you don't have to wait 6 months, 3 months. Yeah, we can actually, as soon as we get clear title and things go through, we can close and get you your cash. Okay, so that's what that is. And these are some of the homes that we've done here in Pueblo. So you can kind of take a look at, before and afters. And then we got a few people who even wrote us little notes that we put in here as little testimonies of people in similar situations that we've been able to help, and they can vouch for our character and our integrity. And we also have a list of some professionals. You may know them. I don't know. You're not from here, so you may not, but you might. These are guys that we work with quite often, and so they can vouch for us as well. We are rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau, so you can check us out. We're not just fly by night. We try to do our best. And this is for you. So, what were you financially, number-wise, what were you hoping that I could get you today?
Well, I don't know who to looking for, because she kind of keeps on top of with the current market.
Right.
I know, obviously if it was in a decent shape, the current market value in this neighborhood was probably around 80. High.
All right, so here we go. This is where we take it to that next level. So first of all, she starts with an assumption of 80 grand for current market value. Probably will subtract a little bit for the condition of the house, but we know right away that we're going to have to reset that price anchor, right? So keep that in mind.
For the neighborhood, because there's been a lot of other homes that have sold for 85, depending,
Farther over by Greenwood and Elizabeth
even
and
within the
stuff.
next block over, a couple blocks in the radius. So, just because we've had to put in so much money, even after, I was hoping for at least, 50 just to get out of it and, be done and be able to kind of recoup a little bit of something. Everything has just been money.
Right.
But then all the rest cost. I know that's not our sob story, and that's not your problem. But my husband lost a lot of money. I 3 years worth, I'd say, of rent.
Yeah.
And
So how do
so-
you
Well,
go about?
what I do is, I'll do a comparable of what houses sold for in this area in the last year. And we have to go by the market. We can't go by what people listed at, but what actually sells.
Right.
And I found 4 of them that are right here on the 2100 block of Blake. It's smaller than yours, and it listed for $24,900, sold for $23,000. Yeah.
See what she did right there, guys? She resetting the price anchor. So their price anchor was 80, 85 in the neighborhood. We put a lot of money into this house. We, hope to walk away with at least 50. So she needs to reset that expectation. So whatever she offers seems better than what it is. So she's immediately going to a 23,000 and is going to let them just soak that in.
I was shocked too, I really was. But I know if you get a couple more blocks over, around the Elizabeth and Greenwood and up a little bit further, it's almost like night and day as far as pricing. The highest one that I found that was closest to yours was on Cheyenne. And that one listed for 34, sold for 34. And you just went straight across the corner. There's not a lot selling at this point because we're in that transition area. There's a lot of stuff going on in the community with all the marijuana coming in and people fighting. So the market is kind of at this stagnant place.
Here it is.
Yeah, Denver is horrible, isn't it? And we have a lot of those people moving down here and they have no place to go. There's no jobs and
If you're
stuff.
saying that, then you guys wouldn't be offering anything close to that.
So see how she lets them figure it out for themselves? She has not made an offer. All she's done is resetting that price anchor, letting them come to the conclusion that based on these facts, their offer is going to be nowhere close. Just sliding into it. But before you even make your offer, remember when we had the lesson on negotiating, you've got to reset that price anchor.
You know, and I know your situation. You owe 31 on it. You know,
And then here's where she struggles. Remember our lesson on empathy, right? You got to struggle. You got to, I don't know what I'm trying to figure out how I don't know what to do. I know you owe 31. I don't know. I feel horrible. I mean, that's basically where she's going.
I was almost debating how can we do this, you know, with the damage that needs to be done and the fixing. That I'm still concerned about this. I mean, I want to get those reports because it's still.
Because there should be some sort of warranty.
Yeah.
There is.
Okay, because it still doesn't it to you look like it's kind of.
Yeah, well, they probably didn't fix it, you know, any better. I mean, I don't know what they did, to be honest,
Well,
but you're right.
You know, I didn't understand, you know, we met with the guy, and supposedly they're a reputable company,
Yeah.
you know, but I have the paperwork at home,
Mhm.
and I meant to bring him, I forgot. But I mean, I'm just constantly going, you know, paper-wise, and I just,
So what do you guys base your offer on? I mean, or what would you?
We actually go by the market, and then I try to figure out what the cost is going to be to repair it, if the damages are there, and then to be able to, you know, like if it's in spit-spot condition, what can I sell it at? Or what can I rent it at if I use it as a rental? So that's what we base it on.
See how she's forcing them to ask? She reset price anchor, and then before even going to an offer, listen, even before we go there, I'm still really concerned about the condition of this place and this repair over here. See how she just shifted the entire paradigm of the money conversation right there.
We have to look at the market. We have to look at the area. So I was in this position where I was almost like, holy cow, because all I saw was this out here. I didn't realize even the damage on the inside. So, I mean, I don't know. You know, I'd really like to be able to help you in a big way. I could definitely give you the 31 to pay it off, and maybe a couple thousand for your time.
Worth it to me. I mean, I hate to be that way, but you know, I'm just getting. I know my mom is tired of dealing with it.
Right.
So I want you guys to listen to what happens next. There's going to be a couple twists and turns in this sales call. So the pain's at a high enough point where they're going to push themselves over the edge, but then those deal killers are going to creep in, and she's going to get an I don't know, maybe a think it over, and she's going to really have to push them on that using yes is good but no is okay too, right? Sticking to that advance agreement. And then you're going to hear them sell themselves based on the pain. I want you to really listen to these next few minutes.
And you know, it's not just the money; it's the stress and the time consumption, and you know, everything else that goes along with it. And you know, if she paid it off, then
So listen to that. This is your seller telling you exactly how they think. It's not about the money. It's about the stress and this and that. And this is the shift we have to take mentally when we sell.
at least she doesn't have to worry about a payment
Right.
every month. And
yeah,
it's
just dropped the insurance and, you know,
because you're paying a lot of extra things, taxes and insurance.
And utilities.
yeah, no, still pay.
And what you guys don't know is this is the money conversation she took them through on the phone call when she did her diagnosis. These are the questions they usually ask is, well, what if you rented it? What about this? Well, oh, the utilities and this and that. So right now what they're doing is parroting back everything from the diagnosis conversation to her. So that's why we say you sell in the diagnosis phase, not when you close. Because everything these prospects are now saying back to Sherry are things they covered when digging up the pain and the diagnosis. That's when the sale was made.
The utilities, yeah.
So I mean, if that were the case, I mean, you know, it wouldn't be bad. I don't think. You could at least, you know, get a
Yeah.
$1,000 or you know, and pay the loan off. But
And also pay attention as they describe what they're thinking. Remember our very first lesson, decisions are made emotionally and justified logically. you'll hear that. You'll hear how they say, I feel this way, so I want to do this. And by the way, it makes sense because they're laying it all out on the table.
Will you guys make a formal offer, or?
I actually have some forms out in the car that we can actually fill out, write it up, and I'll get it into the title company. We'll try to push it through as fast as we can to get your money, and so that we don't have a lot of
Do you
time that's
usually
vacant.
pay off the mortgage company, or do I?
No, they will do it. The title company will find out the balance, and they'll pay it off, and then you'll get what's left at the closing from what we decide. Now, the reason I was saying a couple thousand maybe would be help you to cover closing costs, help you to cover the title insurance that's the seller's responsibility. So, we could cover that so that you're walking away with not an expense.
Right.
Is that,
Did you want to wait till we talk to Kevin tomorrow?
Yeah.
So this is probably the most important part of the call, because I know you guys all get this. So this is where it takes some guts. This is what separates the good from the great right here, is the maybe, the think it over, right? Well, we've got to talk to our CPA tomorrow. He really has our best interest in mind. He might have a couple buyers. You gotta stick to your guns or give up. Let's see what Sherry does.
We can do that too, because we'll meet with him tomorrow. We had another group that's out of Denver that they're looking for properties just to hold on to, and then that way, if they start appreciating, they're buying properties here in Pueblo.
okay.
So I had talked to him a long time ago, but we weren't even close to that point, in saying, oh yeah, we're ready to sell. But now that we are, with everything going on, he's our financial planner, so we're actually meeting with him tomorrow.
Well, I have a little, that's why I was asking if we could make it today, the decision, because I have another house I'm supposed to look at tomorrow. So if I say yes to you, then I won't buy the one tomorrow. But that's why I can't just say, well, maybe, because then I'm stuck. I can't make that decision for tomorrow because I'm making you that offer first. So that's where I'm at.
So let's say we go ahead with it. Are we having to get rid of all of this stuff?
Guys, that was incredibly important right there. She made him stick to the advance agreement. Yes or no, and anything other than a yes is a no. Now, we'll all do that our own separate way, but pay attention. That took guts. Most salespeople will just say, okay, I'll follow up with you tomorrow. But remember when I told you in the training over and over again, what happens when you go for the no, right? Hidden objections and concerns that are really holding them back will finally come out. So after she said, that's a no to me, basically, the prospect immediately comes back with one of her real concerns. Well, what about all this stuff in the house? We haven't even thought about what we're going to do with it.
I mean, or just literally as is, because that makes a big difference too. I'm just going to say,
Yeah, and we can work that. I mean, because we do buy as is, and if that would make a difference for you to help you to make that decision, then we could do that.
Because then we don't have to worry about all of this stuff.
So hidden concern, that was one of the things keeping him back. Now she's drawing out hidden concerns because she made him face a no. So, well, okay, let me ask you this. What about all the stuff in the house? Well, we can take care of that if it's going to help. We just knocked down one more deal killer. And then I want you to notice what the prospect said. The seller said she immediately went back to feelings, didn't she? Well, that would be good because then we wouldn't have to worry about what we would do with these concerns and objections are now coming out. And remember how all the language is from an emotional aspect. None of this is rational. It'll all start with emotion, and then she'll say, that's good because it'll make me feel this way and we won't have to worry. And by the way, it also makes sense logically because of this. Every single decision through this. One of the biggest lessons you have in sales.
Because then you just have somebody come in.
Yeah, we'll have a team come in, like you had Sam or whatever come by. We'll get our team, and we'll just have them go through it and clean it up. That
might be worth it in itself. But it's up to you, Mom. I don't,
And we could finalize it today. you could go back to Denver and not even worry about it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine with me. I just want to be rid of
Then
it.
we don't have to,
You don't have to come back down.
anybody or do anything with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
See, that emotional decision was made, but now listen to all the justification, all the logic. And you know what? I guess if we did it, we wouldn't have to come down anymore, so it makes sense to sell it for a lot lower than we were supposed to. And if she cleans it out, I guess, that makes sense too, because now we don't have to deal with that. All decisions are made emotionally and justified logically. All Sherry's talking about are feelings, right? That's a whole conversation. It sounds a little radical, but I wanted you to listen to this recording because I want you to listen how these decisions are actually being made, because that should guide the conversations and the questions you actually should ask. And if Sherry did not have the diagnosis conversation, this would be completely different.
Because Josiah, I called him and he was supposed to call me and I never heard back. So, things kind of fast.
Mm-hmm.
So again, more justification. So remember those people who are going to make offers on the house? Now she's justifying why she's cutting them out of the deal, right? Decision made emotionally. Now she's saying, and Josiah, yeah, he wanted to put an offer in on the house, but I told him we're selling it, and he hasn't called back. So it's kind of like his loss. He didn't call back quick enough. That's his fault, not mine. She's cutting out those deal killers right now because emotionally she's where she needs to be.
Yeah, because he was the one that I said he was interested in buying it, but
Didn't hear a word.
didn't hear from him. So
Yeah.
I mean that's
And
it.
to me, that would be a benefit because then we don't have to rent anything. We don't have to.
Yeah, I don't have to hire, because we were going to have somebody come in on Saturday and get a dumpster and all that. But
It's just hard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
A
know.
lot of work.
I know. And this is a lot of stuff they left. I'm so sorry that they did this, especially being family. I know
Mhm.
that causes and I hope that you're dealing with that okay.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm okay. I like I said, I want you to do what you feel comfortable doing, Mom. Not because you don't want to inconvenience me or anybody else. I mean, I think it's a big thing to just be done with and
Mhm.
and get rid of. We accomplished what we set out to do, and that was to get his ass out of here. I hate to be that blunt, but I was tired of him taking advantage of my family.
No kidding.
Mhm.
We did that for the most part,
Mhm.
and now he can, it'll be
Yeah, I just got to
figured out.
figure it out where he's going.
Well, he's not here, but I think that's the biggest thing is just to, move on. Because I think we need to move on.
Mhm. I do. I need to. I have things
Huge stress.
that I have to do, and I just don't have the time and energy.
Yeah.
I'm still taking care of paperwork at home on my personal stuff.
Yeah.
Then I got to take time to come down here. My daughter's got to take time off from her job.
Yeah.
To just, But I really, I was hoping that I could get at least 40 for it. I know that.
And I really can't go that high. There's just too much that needs to be done, and especially if I'm going to do the trash out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said what, around 30?
We would pay off the balance, give her a couple thousand in your pocket. So, and I don't know what your balance is. We'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do the clean out.
Yeah,
We'll do the as-is clean out for you.
I think that would be worth it, Mom.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes money,
Well, money has its value, but so does time and energy has value. You got to figure out
Mm-hmm.
where is the value that's most important to you at this moment.
So I want you guys to ask yourself, how much time is she actually spending talking about what the value of the property is and how much repair she's going to do? Just really listen to what she's saying, and you hear the prospects selling themselves. They're telling themselves all the reasons, all pain-related reasons, right? Going into pain and picture-perfect scenario, what I want to do and what needs to happen in the future, the life I want to live. That's all they're talking about, all they're thinking about. No one's saying maybe someone else could give some more money, or the neighbor's house sold for this, or we put this much into the house. A few carefully placed questions get your prospects to a certain emotional level, and you let them sell themselves. I mean, just hear them say. She doesn't have to say anything. The whole sales conversation is going on between those two women. That's what usually happens inside your prospect's mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because then
I'm not getting anywhere with other things, you know. I mean, it just seems to be taking longer and longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to have to
Yeah.
deal with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I think it's just
unfortunately,
I have to take the loss. That's all there is, you know.
you
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that it's not a loss. Let's hope that it's a new beginning. You know, and I understand the financial
Mm-hmm.
thing, but sometimes, I mean, hanging on to it longer is going to cost you more.
Yeah, it's just going to continue to cost me. Yeah.
Exactly.
What little money I have, I don't want to be putting it into this
Yeah.
place. You know, I have my own place to put it into.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well, I can say that. I can say yes to that today. Are you okay saying yes to that? You good? Okay. Well, I've got the forms in the car, so I'll go get them. And do you want me to knock when I come back in? I go.
yeah, you better not.
Ring the doorbell.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. I will go get.
to knock.
All right. I will go out and get the forms, and we'll get this going and try to get it as fast as we can. All right. Uh-huh.
So guys, I wanted you to see a sales call from a different perspective. What happens when you get your prospects to a certain emotional state and to a certain level of pain? What happens? And you heard the last few concerns pop out. Well, we've got a CPA who's going to give an offer. Sorry, I need an answer today. Well, I was really hoping for 40. I can't do that. And they sit there and they talk to themselves over, well, okay, well, I just want this behind me. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And you know what? Maybe we take a loss, but it makes sense because I could just go back to Denver. I don't have to worry about it. All happened emotionally. It all happened back in the diagnosis. You have to stir up the emotion, and then you let the rest take care of itself. So I really today just wanted you to get a peek into a seller's mind and what they really think of and what they feel and how they make their decisions to really put a bow on this thing. Why it's so important that we spend our time in the diagnosis talking about how is this property impacting you financially, spiritually, how you spend your time, your relationships with others. You even heard our prospects echo those same things. Well, it's costing me this, and it's making me do this, and I don't want to deal with that anymore. You have to get your prospects in touch with that kind of stuff because that's how they make decisions. So, guys, we've got a few more minutes, 7 more minutes left today. That was the end of the call. In the new training portal, if you're involved in our new training program or same training basically, but new portal, this call is in there. And I believe in the resources section in Dropbox, we've also got this call in there as well. That being said, I mean, Sherry was okay at what she did. There was a lot of room for improvement. She ended up being let go because there's just too many areas where she could improve. But even with the few small areas where she did develop enough skills, she was a lot more effective than most what I call most seasoned sales professionals. Could have the right conversation at the right time, the right way, and make it seem effortless. Now, she had some other drawbacks. She was got pretty emotionally involved with the prospects, which caused her to not follow sales process. So unfortunately, she did have to be let go. But that being said, if that's what she can do, even not being all the way there, by using a couple of the tactics you all have learned, what can you guys do with your skill sets? So let's open this up for questions, comments. Let's take this last 6-7 minutes, and I just want to make sure I've covered everything. I want to answer any questions, no matter how out of the box they are. or how off topic they are. Let's open this up to questions. So guys, I'm going to shut up for a second. If you want to, ask me to unmute you, or just type your question or comment or anything you have in the box, in the comments box. So as you do that, let me also ask a question for the rest of you who aren't typing right now. Did this call today clear things up at all? Did it kind of help illustrate where we want our prospects to get to? Did this make sense? Does the sales process make sense? What's our amount of clarity with this all? Okay, and thanks for those comments that are coming in. Melinda said she did not use higher authority for the final okay on the deal. Why or why not? Because she had all the authority, and she does not use it. Higher authority is extremely powerful, but in her sales process, she did not resort to it. More important for her to have the authority, so she could use the yes or no. Not I got to talk to anyone, but in order for her to go, hey, anything other than a yes is a no. And I get that, and that's okay. She doesn't want to draw it out. This company was committed to a yes or no right there. No callbacks, no think it overs. They close a lot of deals, and they do the vast majority on the first sales call, and that's why they give their salespeople a power to say yes or no, because they want them to have that power. If it's not a yes, it's a no, and they force their prospects to face that. And if you get them to an emotional point where they're really worked up and they want to get out of pain, they take that no, and the objections and the concerns are overcome, and they convince themselves. Are you going to be breaking down these appointments each week, Joe asks. So, yeah, we absolutely can. Joe, we tried to do this once before, and we didn't get a lot of participation. We did an advanced training, and the idea of the advanced training was for salespeople or companies to submit their on-site sales calls, and we would break down each one just like this, beginning to end. Unfortunately, we didn't have salespeople who recorded their calls, or maybe they did and they didn't submit them, so we had to end that program. But if the demand is there, you know, I follow where the demand is. So if you guys are hearing this and you're on the next sales training and you find this valuable, we can mix these in with the inside sales calls, and we could do both. We could do these outside sales calls. The only caveat is we need salespeople recording their calls. So I'll let you guys tell me. If you're on the next training and you think that would be valuable, then absolutely submit your salespeople's calls, and we'll go through them one by one and just really dissect them just like this. All right, and thank you for the rest of the comments. I'm scrolling through, but I'm not seeing any other questions. Let me see, I might have missed one. Let me roll through these comments. I'm seeing what I missed, if I missed anything. So here's one. My AM is having trouble getting past price, meaning all our deals are falling through on price. As a sales manager, how can I get them there? So great question, Stephen. So the first thing I would do is implement that outside sales review sheet and make sure they're actually starting to have the right conversation. Okay, the prospect will do most of the work if your salesperson just asks the right questions. So I would concentrate on the diagnosis part. What are their pain points? Is that emotional or is that technical? You'll probably find out that if they even touched on the pain points, they're all very surface level, very technical. So the conversation is going to be, how do we get into impact? The most common, the easiest way to get your reluctant salesperson to ask about impact is to give them this one line to use, okay? Okay, so you might see on there, okay, they said the bills are high, right? Or they're having financial trouble. Okay, that's technical, that's not emotional. So here's a template you give your salesperson to start taking that first dip into emotion. The template goes like this. When you say blank, what's that mean? So my first step would be to train the salesperson. Okay, you know what motivation is? Yeah, they're in financial trouble. How do we convert it to emotion? When they say, hey, the finances are tight, their next question should be that template. When you say finances are tight, what's that mean? At least they're going to that next level in the questioning. The prospect's going to start explaining impact. So that would be the first step. I took Steve, acquisitions manager, got it. So yeah, that's the first step I'd take, is I'd concentrate on the diagnosis part, because without that emotion there, it's going to fall back on price. You heard these callers try to take it there, right? The only thing that overrode it was price. When you heard my sales call, it was price until she hit a certain emotional level. She said, you know what, I'm done with this. Yeah, whatever the price is, I'll take it. You're right, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want the stress. I don't want the worry. I can't do this. And that's what you're going to hear over and over in your sales calls. Let's see what else we've got. What do you do when you get to the house and money is the main focus? We've all been able to turn a few of them by making PowerPoints with comps, but most take 3 to 4 months to close a deal. How would you think you can find this motivation on the phone? But it isn't always the case. Any tips? So yeah. So hey, first of all, sometimes money's going to be their only focus, right? We're looking for motivated sellers. So first thing we got to do is determine and realize sometimes money will be the only focus, but you want to know that. So there's a few questions you can ask. There's a few ways to test this. One way to test it, just the first little bit, is seller, your price is $300,000. Can I ask you a question? Would you even take $1 less than that? Why? That's your first inkling into their motivation or their pain. Any reason they would take even $1 less? You want to start to figure out how much is that worth to them and why. Well, if you could do this, yeah, I might take a little less. Why that? Can you kind of explain where that came from? I had no idea that was even a concern of yours. Well, yeah. Well, how long has that been going on? And you start diving down those pain funnels or that line of diagnostic questioning. Let's see how else we could do it. Find out the motivation over the phone. So another way to find out motivation over the phone is to ballpark. So if you've got Zillow or anything like that you have access to, or access to comps, just use a quick ballpark to determine motivation. If you see that the ARV on a house is probably going to be around 100K, drop this in there. Hey, listen, we've bought houses in there before, low as 30K, as high as 80K. Are we even close? Is it even worth, coming out there to see exactly what we could pay for your house? You didn't give them a price, but you gave them a ballpark, or now you can test that motivation, right? You can also ask, hey, listen, if you took anything less than what you're asking for, why would you? I'm not saying you should. I'm saying if you want 80, if you took 79, would that ever make sense in any situation, right? Get clues into their motivation, so that if you look into our training on instant influence, based on a book by Dr. Michael Pantalone, that's how you can start to find motivation from an unmotivated prospect. So there's actually 7 questions in that series. You should be able to get down to any motivation, if any exists, within 7 minutes. Remember, this technique is used in the emergency rooms all over the country to help alcoholics who are in the ER all the time change their lives. Watch the video, the training video on instant influence, and that'll give you some in-depth questioning to ask for that. What recording device have you found to work best while in these appointments? I've tried a few. So the best I've found so far is this. You can get free Android or free apps on your iPhone or your Android device that will just sit in the background and call. The problem with most recorders is you put them in your pocket and you hear all the pocket noise. But if it runs in the background on your phone, I've got one that does it now, and I just hold my phone in my hand the whole time, because you can walk around with the phone and nobody thinks anything of it. First I tried it with my phone in my pocket. There's a lot of background noise. So now I'm getting some really good recordings. I just put it on my phone. I'll set my phone on the table or on the counter when we sit down or we're standing in the kitchen talking, and it's free. It's really effective, and it's a lot more effective than an actual recorder because you can actually hold it. So looks like, Jessica says there's a recording device that we use that looks like a pen you can just clip to your shirt too. So guys, we're 5 minutes over today. I truly, truly hope you got some value out of this last 12 weeks. You probably will have only absorbed 10 or 15% of it, because we all know how we learn and how quickly stuff leaves. You have to immerse yourself into certain pieces of this to get really good at it. So I invite you to listen to the recordings over and over, go through the trainings over and over, practice role play, not just in sales situations, practice some of the advanced questioning techniques and listening techniques in just everyday conversations, okay? If you need anything from me, just email me, okay? If you have questions, you need some resources, please feel free to just email me, Voxer me, whatever. If you're in the training next time, we're adding quizzes, we're adding lots of resources, and we're just going through a lot of the information again over and over and over with a little different twist each time. So if you want more of it, you can get into those and we'll go through it. But again, if you want, just get in Dropbox, listen to those recordings. Whatever is going to work best for you, do. Guys, I'm signing off. My name is John Martinez with Midwest Revenue Group. Reach out if you need anything. It's absolutely been my pleasure serving you. Bye-bye.